Thank you so much for being here this evening. I'm glad you've come. You could do anything else on a Thursday night, but you're here with us, and I'm super grateful for that. I wanted you to know that tonight you're going to see a missionary presentation. It's the missionary presentation of my friend Lisa Kendrick, and you're going to hear her interviewed. And remember now, when you see the presentation and when you hear the interview, you want to be putting good questions in there for her in the comment section. So if you're watching on a watch party, someone who hosted the watch party, get us the questions over at my personal page or over at Worldwide's page at facebook.com/WWNTBM, and that'll get it to me. And we can see those questions. If you're on YouTube, just post it right in the comments as well. And if you have friends who want to watch, we have all of the conferences saved. And that way you can go back and watch. But tonight you're going to want to watch it now and again. So we will show you Miss Lisa Kendrick's presentation. I've already seen it, and I know you'll be blessed.
I'm Mike Rouse. I'm the pastor of Mountain View Baptist Church. It's my honor to recommend to you Lisa Kendrick for your consideration, not just for your prayer, but for your financial consideration. I've had the honor of being Lisa's pastor ever since she was small. She attended our Christian school from the time of her early elementary years all the way through her high school graduation. She went off to college and then came back and actually taught the second grade in our school ministry. She has a love for people. She has a ministry there again to every age, but she really works well with children. She has a fondness there for them. Lisa is someone I can highly recommend to you. Thank you for considering Lisa for the mission field and for your financial support.
Hello, my name is Lisa Kendrick, and I grew up in Pell City, Alabama. I was blessed to be raised in a Christian home. My parents, Randy and Diana Kendrick, love and serve the Lord and raised us to do the same. Their prayer for their children was that we would grow up to honor and serve Christ. I was saved at a very young age. I was around 6 years old when I accepted Christ. At the age of 16, I dedicated my life to full-time Christian service while at Mountain View Baptist Church. Later that year, while attending a missions conference, I felt the call of the Lord in my life to missions. I began looking for a college that would help prepare me for that ministry. The Lord led me to Ambassador Baptist College, where I studied missions and elementary education. During my college years, I took an evangelistic trip with evangelist Neil Cadwell to Australia and Singapore. I thought at the time that God might be calling me to Australia as a missionary. After I graduated from Ambassador Baptist College with an elementary education degree, I went back to Mountain View Baptist Church and School in Birmingham, Alabama, and served for 7 years. At the beginning of my 7th year teaching, my sister Julia and her husband Keith Klaus were finishing up deputation to go to Germany as missionaries. They asked me to consider and pray about going to Germany with them for a year and help care for their children to allow them both to take language classes. After much prayer and counsel, I saw the Lord definitely moving me in this direction. I joined Worldwide New Testament Baptist Missions and left for Germany with 3 churches supporting me. After we arrived, I had the opportunity to work with Pastor and Mrs. John Radank at Hohenfels Baptist Church, a missionary work serving the American military in the area of Hohenfels, Germany. We are located approximately 100 miles northeast of Munich. As I was serving in the local church, Pastor Radank asked me to pray about staying and becoming a missionary to the Hohenfels military community and leading the children's department. Once again, I prayed and sought the advice of godly men and realized that this was the mission field that God had been preparing me for. I returned to the United States for 9 months to resolve my visa issues. Upon my return to Germany, I was able to get a job in the local military post in Hohenfels to support myself. I have served at Hohenfels Baptist Church since September 2004. The Army has over 1,300,000 active personnel. They move their troops every 2 to 3 years to new posts, and they take their families with them. Hohenfels is just one of several military communities in Germany. Because of the frequent personnel relocations and the duty requirements of the military, the families go through a lot of separation time. Our military and their families sacrifice a lot to serve their country, and having a church family to turn to is essential. I currently work in the same ministry with Pastor Bill Inslee and his wife Kiki. Pastor Inslee became the pastor in January of 2018.
Hello, my name is Bill Inslee, and I'm the pastor of Hohenfels Baptist Church, serving the military community in Germany. I would like to talk to you about our children's coordinator, Miss Lisa Kendrick. Lisa is a missionary sent out from Mountain View Baptist Church in Alabama to our church, and she's nothing short of a blessing. In fact, she's served here since 2004. She continually shares the love of Christ with our children and with our families, and has proven to be an invaluable asset to this ministry. But after much prayer and counsel, God has led Lisa to resign from her secular job and enter into full-time ministry. She is currently in the process of raising financial support, and we look forward to her full-time service in this ever-changing military ministry. So please pray for Lisa and this ministry and consider supporting her on a monthly basis. God bless, and have a good day.
My ministries in the church will include teaching children's church, helping with Sunday school, assisting with the nursery and homeschool classes, visitation, outreach ministries, serving with the ladies' Bible studies, hospital ministry, secretarial work, and any other areas the church needs me to be a part of. Upon my return to Germany, I plan to enroll in German language courses to be able to assist the church with any language needs as well. Thank you for allowing me to share God's leading in my life with your church. The Lord has done so much in the church in Hohenfels, and I am excited to see Him continue working.
Thank you so much, Lisa. What a great presentation. And viewers, now watch, you want to put your comments in on the question box in the comment section. Put your questions there because we want to get to those as soon as possible. But I want Lisa now to introduce Lisa to you. Lisa, you've got the best backdrop of anyone. And I want everybody to know that's real. She's on the back porch of a house there in Alabama. And so welcome, Lisa. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And you know, I've been to where Lisa ministers and serves. I've watched her ministry in person, and I'm so glad you're here. Lisa, when did you know that you could do nothing else but be a missionary to the U.S. military in Germany?
That's a very unique story, actually, Brother O'Malley. You see, I was called to the ministry when I was 16, and immediately started preparing to be in the ministry. And also at the age of 16, I was called to the mission field. And so I had no idea, obviously at 16, I had no idea where the Lord wanted me to serve, but I knew He wanted me to serve somewhere. So I went to Bible college. I got a degree in elementary education so I could use it on the mission field. And after Bible college, I ended up going to Mountain View Baptist Church in school and serving there, and teaching in their school as a second grade teacher and Sunday school teacher and things like that, until the Lord showed me where He wanted me to be. And so I was teaching there, and every time we had a missionary come through, I'd be like, Lord, that's where you want me, right? And I went on a missions trip to Australia and Singapore, and I was like, Lord, you want me in Australia. I love Australia. It's amazing. The people are amazing. This is where I'm going to be. And but every time, you know, the Lord said, no, Lisa, not this. And so in the beginning of my 7th year of teaching at Mountain View, the Klauses, missionaries to Germany, were getting ready to finish deputation and go to Germany as missionaries. And they came and asked me to pray about going with them for their first year and helping them with their 3 small children so they could both go to language school. And so whenever I have a big, this life-changing decision, I have some prayer warriors pray with me. And so I got my prayer warriors together, and we all prayed about this decision and realized that that's where the Lord wanted me to be. And so I I joined Worldwide and got ready to go to Germany as a missionary. And to be honest, Brother O'Malley, I really thought that I was going to be in the ministry of help, basically. I saw myself as doing this same thing for other missionaries, going with them for their first year or so, helping them with their children, helping them start their ministry, and then moving on to a different missionary. But the Lord said no again. And I was working in this area that we went to of Hohenfels. There were two churches. There was the local military work of Hohenfels Baptist Church, and then there was the German work that was in the same building, the Freie Baptist Gemeinde. And so I was attending the German service, and I was working in the military work. I was teaching Sunday school at the time, and I was teaching Patch the Pirate Club. And after being there for a couple of months, the pastor at the time was Pastor John Radink, and he came and he asked me to pray about staying in Germany and making that my ministry. And so again, I got some prayer warriors to pray with me about this, and I realized that I was on the field that God had been preparing me for since I was 16. I was there. And, it was, have you ever had one of those aha moments where you're like, wow,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The Lord put me here without my even realizing it. And so the Lord is amazing. If I could put it into words, it's difficult to explain, but there's a hymn that I love that says it's joy unspeakable and full of glory. And that's, I just knew that that's where God wanted me to be.
That's an amazing story. And as I listen to you, I think about all of this week and the week before and the week before, because there's always a common denominator. Prayer was involved, counsel was involved, location was everything, and God just brings it all together. And it's usually a missionary who thought enough to say, I'm going to tell my story and see what God does. And that's what you're doing tonight. Lisa and I prayed together with Laura, our tech person, before we got on and said, God, use this time to inspire some young lady to go to the mission field. And you never know what God's going to do. And truthfully, you come from a great family there in Alabama and a great church. Brother Rouse is a wonderful pastor, a dear man, and the Radanks and all of the crowd out there in Germany, wonderful people. And it's so special how God put you in the right place. And Lisa, I'm incredibly proud of who you are as a lady, your service to Christ. It's an amazing thing to see what God's done with you through these years. Lisa, describe to me in simple terms. I'm your third grader, okay? Tell me what it's like to have a burden from God for Hohenfels, Germany.
Yes, sir. Well, my burden is for the men, women, and children of the military. And in words, it's the Lord doesn't let you escape the desire to see these people come to know Christ as their Savior. And so my heart aches for these strong men and women and children, the families of our military, because they need to be able to hear the gospel. They need a clear presentation of the gospel. They deserve to have the teaching and the preaching and the fellowship of other believers. And, in our military, they move every couple of years whenever the military tells them to move. And a lot of our military, they're very young. And so a lot of times they're newly married and it's their first time away from home. And Brother Malley, you probably know this because your ministries are so far reaching, but military men and women make the best soldiers of the Lord, but Amen. They have to be reached. They have to be taught and they have to be counseled. And so my burden is for these people. They struggle with a lot of different things that we as a nation really kind of understand, that they are separated from their families, they're separated from their homes, and they give a lot. They give a lot for us. And they really deserve to have someone go and give back to them and care enough about them to be there.
Oh, Lisa, that's incredible. You reminded us of the kind of people that are there. And these are amazing people. You're right. I've seen it all over the world. When you have a military person reach for Christ, they become great assets to churches wherever they are. I've seen it from I've seen it from Alaska to Asia, and I've seen it all over the world. And I've seen it right there in Europe where you're working. And we forget sometimes it's not just a single female or male that goes. Sometimes the whole family goes. And if our military deserves the best in protection and the best in armament and the best in food and the best of everything, we better send them our best when it comes to the spiritual matters. And in Lisa Kendrick, we have done that. We've sent them our best to reach those kids and to reach those moms and to provide those families a solid gospel witness. Thank you for your heart for the Lord's work. Now, get those questions into me. I got one more question, Lisa. And before we go to viewers' questions, now think about it. I'm the easier questions than the viewer questions, trust me. just kidding. When you look ahead 10 years, Lisa, okay, what do you dream your ministry will look like?
Sure. This is another unique aspect of the ministry that God has put me in, because I work under the leadership of Pastor Bill Inslee and his wife Kiki. And so we've gotten together and we've sat down and talked about our burden for the ministry and where we would like to see Hohenfels Baptist Church be when I return. And so one of the first things I'll do when I return to Germany will be to learn go to language school and hopefully become fluent in the German language. So that is one of my first things. I do speak the language a little bit, but it's definitely not fluently enough, definitely not enough to teach ladies and things like that. And so that's one of my first things. And along with that, we want to be more of a blessing to our local German population as well as our military. And so our church is already branching out a little bit of that. And a couple of years ago, we started branching out and offering bilingual vacation Bible schools and things like that. And a lot of our military are married to Germans. And so, there's a lot of opportunity there as well. And then we're in the area of Hormansdorf, right outside the military base. It's a little village. You've been there, Brother O'Malley. And so that's one of the first things. Of course, we want to be a light to the lost. So it's the military it can be a little tough. Not for. Let me back up a little bit. They have a lot of things that they're fighting against, and that's at home in Hohenfels, where they're there for 3 years. And so we want to be a light to them. We want to have the opportunity to present the gospel to them and to be a blessing to them. And in some of the ways that we're looking to do that is when I get back, we're also hoping to start having ladies Bible studies in the daytime, where they have the ladies have an option when their kids are at school and their husbands are at work, they can come to ladies Bible studies. We would like to have homeschool options where they can come to the church and have a chapel and have local history and things like that offered as well, to be a blessing. And this is not just to our church people, but to the community as a whole, so we can get the gospel out in every way possible. Of course, I will continue to do the things I've done over the past few years. I'll continue to do children's church and things like that. But also we want to start having missions trips every other year, so our people have the opportunity to get out and serve others and to see what the mission field is like. Because again, like we both mentioned, military people make great servants of the Lord. Just from our church, we have several people who are now missionaries and pastors. Hohenfels has been around for 20 years. I've been there the last almost 16 years now. And so, yeah, Hohenfels it's a great ministry. And we also we want to build our youth ministry. We want to build our singles ministry. We need people to come in and do that. And Brother O'Malley, you know how a military ministry works. You change people every 3 years. Right. The only constants for the most part are the missionaries that are there. And so we've had youth ministries and we've had singles ministries, but as soon as those people move, we need new people in. And one of Pastor Bill and Pastor Radank's missions for themselves was to train up people to serve the Lord here, well, there. And then when they come back here, they get back into their churches and they serve there as well. And so, yeah.
That's great. That's Lisa. It's wonderful. And, you know, I think about that 3-year marker you talked about, but look what Jesus did in 3 years. And it gives you a clock is ticking, 3 years to put everything into a crowd that could turn the world upside down. And when Christ ascended in just 17 chapters in Acts, they're already known for turning the world upside down. And that's what you guys are doing out there. And I'm so thrilled that you're doing that. And I've seen her work. Lisa is a great person, as you can tell, comes across with a clear passion for the work there. Lisa, if we don't get to these questions, I'm going to be in trouble. So we better get to those now. How is the children's ministry at Hohenfels doing with you being away?
So when I knew I was leaving, we started working on getting people to fill in for me. So right now, of course, they're closed down as well, the churches. Right. And so right now, I'm teaching children's church via Zoom every Sunday. Good. And so that's what's happening now. But we did have people step up in the gap and take over the classes that I had to stop teaching. And right. So as long as I'm back in the next year, we have someone covering for me.
Okay. What's the biggest obstacle or fear that you face going to another country? And you've kind of been there, but are there fears for you? Are there obstacles? I know you talked about sometimes it's hard to break in a little bit, but tell me, are there, Rebecca Childers is asking, what's your biggest obstacle or fear?
Well, when I first went, my biggest fear was I had a hard time with change. When I first went, when we landed in Germany, I was like, why am I here, Lord? You know? But now I guess my fear would be that I use my time wisely and make sure that I follow the Lord's leading in all these different steps that we've talked about, that I don't get into myself too much, but I follow the Lord's leading and the pastor's leading and do as the Lord wants me to in the timing that he wants me to, because sometimes I get a timing in my head and I want things to go my way. And so, I had to step back and let the Lord.
Yes. I've seen that trait in other family members of yours as well.
Yeah.
But we won't say her name, will we?
Right.
Oh,
right,
that's
right,
great.
right.
Hey, I've got a great question here from Worldwide has great friends around the world. Personal friends of mine, yes, and great friend of Worldwide. Pastor Luke Shope is asking, at the age of 16, how did your friends react to you surrendering to your life to missions?
I had a really good group of my closest friends. I had a really good group of friends, and they were excited for me. The rest of my friends, they were trying to talk me out of it, thinking of all the things you can do to earn money and live big and large in the States. But my close friend group that I had a really good friend group, and they were just excited for me and went off to Bible college with me, actually.
Oh, that's great. And I hope Pastor Shope and other pastors who work with young people, you ought to take this video and show it to your young people. This incredible testimony of a godly young lady who gave her life to serve. How many children are in your church in Germany? Becky Stahlkup is asking.
Well, that changes quite often, but right when I was leaving, we had between 20 and 30 on any given Sunday. And so when I teach children's church on Sundays right now, only about 4 or 5 of the families are zooming in. And so I don't know if they've had a big a drop off in people or what, but it's been lower, obviously, with each different year that we have people coming and going. We've had down to 5 and up to 30. 30s are usually our max. Now I have on my roster, on my children's church roster, I'd have like 40 kids, but they wouldn't all show up at the same time.
Right. Ann Jackson is a dear friend, and she says this to you. Thank you for serving the military. It is very hard to find people who will work in the military ministries outside the U.S. And Ann is a special person. And sometimes you ever have a friend where you say, that friend and that friend need to meet. You need to meet Ann Jackson, and Ann, you need to meet Lisa. But
I would
here's
love
Lisa.
that.
Oh, and you'll find her in the comments. But
Yes,
here
sir.
is the thing. And Ann lived in Japan and attended a military church there. Do you speak any German now?
I do. Ein bisschen. Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch.
Good for you. Many happy returns. She
Right.
says she speaks a little bit, and so that's great. Where are some of the kids now that you've worked with over the years, like in locations? Have you been able to
Yes.
keep up with these kids?
Yes, sir. I've been up to Iowa a couple times already. Twice during my furlough trail. And there's 5 kids up in that area, and I've seen them along the way. Yes, they're all over the world. They're all over the United States, actually, and in Panama. But I have kids all over because I've been teaching over there for 15 years. Some of my kids are married now. Well, not my kids, but
I know you can call them your kids, and we know precisely what you mean for sure. But Linda Brown says, will you have an opportunity to teach in a German elementary school?
No, I
Okay.
won't be able to teach in a German elementary school. But I'll be able to offer things in our church, like vacation
Mhm.
Bible school and different kinds of things, hopefully to bring people in. But no, I'm not allowed in the school on post, nor am I allowed in the German school.
And this is where we have to pray that God will open doors for you to have them come out to you. Lisa, tonight, I believe in my heart that right now, someone is watching, someone whose heart is submitted to the will of God, whatever it would be. And since you've been on that journey in these last years, speak to that person from your heart about what they could do for the cause of Christ in missions. Inspire them.
Yes, sir. Well, the first thing I would say would be to follow the leading of the Lord, no matter how scary it might seem, because the Lord's will is the best place to be. He will allow us to be out of His will and live an imperfect life, but it's not worth it. The last year, before I arrived back in the States in August, I really was kind of fighting what the Lord wanted me to do, because I didn't want to leave the field and go on furlough/deputation. I felt like I had the perfect mix of what the Lord wanted me to do, but that was not His will. And so, to be honest, when I finally submitted and I said, okay, Lord, if you want me to go to the States and go on furlough, go on /deputation, I will do that. I will go there and I will do your will. And the joy and the relief that I felt surpassed all the fears that I had felt before, because I had quite a few fears. I tend to be a little shy. You probably can't tell, but if I get into my flesh, I'm very shy and reserved. And so I had to fight that. And well, actually, the Lord had to fight that. When I finally submitted to what the Lord wanted me to do, all those fears that I've been feeling for a year were gone. And what you could do to prepare is be faithful and working for the Lord where you're at. And in my case, that of course was going to Bible college because I was so young, and then being faithful in the church that I was serving in, teaching Sunday schools and children's churches and visitation, and just being faithful where you are until the Lord gets you where He wants you.
Amen. I hope there are people who are watching right now who will share that with a young person they care about in their life. Lisa, tonight I learned about your faith and your walk with God and the place that He called you. Thank you for being with me tonight.
Thank you, Brother Mally.
Oh, my pleasure. You know, friend, you watched us tonight and you saw what God can do with someone. I promise you that Lisa is going to get into the comments and she's going to answer your questions. But I want you to know we'll be back tomorrow night at 7:00. I'm getting requests from many people saying, don't stop the missions conference. And if you have thoughts about that, put those in the comments as well. But I want to say to you, tomorrow night, we'll show you a missionary's presentation and we'll share our hearts with you. And so I say to you from Kings Mountain, North Carolina, good night.